Black Magic Woman podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this episode on. We also acknowledge traditional owners of the land where you, the listener or viewer, are tuning in from. We would like to pay our respects to our elders past and present and acknowledge that this always was Aboriginal land and always will be Aboriginal land.
Monash just did everything amazing. I was very impressed, and I've said it every time, from accommodation to the people around you, the teachers. It really is a good opportunity, so yeah, I just highly recommend it, yeah.
This episode is proudly supported by Monash University, promoting the Master of Indigenous Business Leadership program. For more information, head to the link in our show notes or visit www.monash.edu/indigenous-business-leadership.
Welcome to the Black Magic Woman podcast with Mundanara Bales.
I'm here at the Indigenous Leadership Summit, which is actually sponsored by Monash, and it's also brought to you by the Leadership Institute. And we're here on Wurundjeri, Woiwurrung country in beautiful Naarm, which is actually Melbourne for those that don't know, that a lot of people are actually starting to use traditional place names. So I am joined by a deadly black fella who's actually doing the Monash Indigenous Business Leadership Program. So you're part of MOIBL 3.0, and you will get to know this fella. I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself. So can you please share with our listeners and also our viewers on YouTube? Tell us your name, your mob, and a little bit about where you grew up.
Yeah, thank you. So my name's Daniel Howe. I'm a proud Biripi man that grew up on Darkinjung country on the New South Wales Central Coast. And so I've just started my first week with Monash just the other month. So yeah, doing the Indigenous Business and Leadership Masters, and yeah, it's super exciting. So yeah, happy to share what it's all about.
Too deadly. And as always, in our culture, we always ask people, who you are and where you come from. For people that don't understand the kind of landscape of New South Wales, tell us about Darkinjung country.
Oh yeah, beautiful spot. It's about an hour and a half north of Sydney. So you're in between Sydney and Newcastle. And yeah, I grew up on Umina Beach, so it's a little surfy town.
And do you surf?
I do, and I still surf down here in Victoria.
Yep.
It's a bit colder, but yeah, and I do love it. So it's sort of my grounding and keeps me sane, I think. So yeah.
Deadly. And you got a big mob of family. Tell us about people around you. Have you got no family here, or you got your family here? Everyone's back home.
Yeah, no family here, so it does get hard. My mum sort of left home when she was 16, and her mum is a Biripi woman, so she was raised in a foster family, so didn't grow up with mobs. So then it was hard, I guess, when their mum didn't really have a lot to do with her mum. So when I was growing up, culture and stuff was just, if you didn't grow up with it, you only know what you know. So it wasn't until I was a bit older and, started to join sort of Aboriginal organisations and things like that, and started to learn, more about my culture, because Mum didn't grow up with it either. So once I started uni, that's probably, when I was surrounded by it more. And yeah, it's been a good journey, and I love learning about culture and other people's culture and other mobs as well. So yeah.
Tell us about uni. Like, did you always want to go to university?
No, not at all. I didn't even do year 10 at school. So I didn't even think it was a possibility. So I sort of started in construction. I left school in year 9 and then took on an apprenticeship in roofing. So I did that for 4 years and kept doing that. And then I realised that I just hated it. So I looked at sort of doing other things, and then I got into the mines, and I was working with cranes and stuff in the mines. And I remember just, you're doing 4 weeks on and 2 weeks off, and not around family or surfing or any of the things that, keep me grounded and things like that. So I just remember ringing my brother, just going, I don't want to be in construction anymore. And then
there's your purpose. It's not fulfilling. It might be good pay, good money.
Yeah, exactly. And it's,
what are you contributing? I think a lot of mob feel this kind of there's this deep sense of obligation and responsibility and wanting to contribute to mob and community and just contribute to greater good causes. So I could imagine, it's kind of not soul destroying because, a lot of people are passionate about the industry, construction and mining. But for you realise it just wasn't doing it for you anymore.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I guess, with mental health and stuff, I was pretty, I didn't really know, what I was feeling or what I wanted to do. So you sort of I think I want to help people that, I guess are in my position where they're a bit lost in life, don't know what they want to do. And, then I ended up doing social work, so, to help people. So I did a year of social work with ACU in Sydney, and then COVID happened, and so that sort of stopped a bit. And then I was playing a bit of touch footy during the lockdowns as well, and I ended up snapping my Achilles. So
not good.
No, so work stopped, uni stopped, and I was considering what I'm doing with my life. And once I could start walking again, and the lockdowns had settled a bit, I decided to move down to Melbourne and do a mental health degree. And three and a bit years later, I'm still here, and I've finished my mental health degree now, and I've just started my Indigenous Business Master's degree.
In leadership.
Yeah, exactly. So
you've gone from a roofing apprenticeship into the construction world, cranes and whatever mines, over to social work at ACU, and then you did a master's.
The 3-year in mental health degree, and that was with Charles Sturt Uni. Yep. So that was an identified degree as well. So it was all mob from sort of New South Wales, Queensland, everywhere, and meeting in Wagga Wagga, and doing a mental health degree and traineeship at the same time. So you get that clinical experience while you're doing the degree. Tell
me about the clinical experience. Where was your placement?
So I still currently work for Eastern Health, so they supported me through my traineeship. So, it was 3 weeks a year. I'd take the residential school, similar to the Indigenous Business and Leadership one.
Yes.
So, work was pretty good with that. And then you sort of do 3 clinical placements a year. I could sort of pick if I wanted to do it outside of Eastern Health or do a mental health organisation in the area. So I just did it with Eastern Health.
Yeah.
So they had a CAT team, that was one of them. So that's crisis and assessment team. So they'd actually go to your house if the police were called or if a family member just wasn't doing too well. So I'd go out with them, and then they'd assess them and say, this person needs to come into a psych ward or whatever it may be, and the police would normally bring them in, and it was pretty full on.
I was just going to say, for mob, was you actually going into mobs, like blackfella homes and communities, or all communities, all different people?
Yeah, so when I was doing my placements, it wasn't so much, but my main role with Eastern Health was sort of cultural support when they do come into the psych wards and stuff like that. So, and it was hard, because, that's why I sort of got into management, I guess. You got blackfellas working as Aboriginal health workers, and then you got managers saying, just go do cultural support. And you're like, well, what's cultural support to you is probably not what it is to me. And, what are my resources to do this cultural support if I'm stuck in a room with a security guard looking at me? So that's, I guess, what I struggled with a bit, and that's what led me into management now, and, managing the Aboriginal health team in Healesville, still with Eastern Health at the minute,
Wow, so Healesville's got a bit of a history too.
Yes, it does, big history out there. So, a big community as well, so...
Just in terms of our listeners, tell us a little bit about Healesville.
Yeah, so
there was a big mission there, wasn't there?
Yes.
Was at Corandurk?
Corandurk, yes.
Okay.
And that was, the full history of it is when mob got sort of kicked off from around the city, they walked to Corandurk, and there's a full story, so I don't want to tell the wrong story, but there is.
Google it. Very rich history.
Yes.
In that Healesville,
Corandurk.
Here in Victoria with the Koris here.
Yeah, exactly.
So I am mindful that it's not his country. He's a visitor here. How did you hear about this master's program?
That's a good question. I think...
Someone told you about it?
No, I think I was just... Once I sort of got into management, I was sort of just looking at, what I wanted to... Because I wanted to keep studying shortly just after I just finished my last degree, because I was like, you never know what's going to happen. I'll end up putting it off.
Yeah.
So, I sort of just looking at Masters in Business, and then, it just come up, and I was like, that's perfect. And, had a look and sent off my application. It was, bit of a long application, but just your normal sort of criteria. And
you had to have references.
Yeah, references. So reference from an Aboriginal organisation in the area, an elder in the area, and then just talk about what you're doing with your work and how it matches in with, the Indigenous Business and Leadership degree. So,
can you tell us a little bit about what you put in your application? I haven't had anyone on the podcast yet to talk about this.
Yeah.
I know what I put in my application because I participated in the first cohort. So I've got an understanding of what you had to do. But it'd be good just for these mob listening. It might seem like, a university application and it's a master's program. You fellas, don't be put off by it. It might be a long application and you've got to go and get those referees and have elders and community vouch for you so that we've got the right people in these programs.
Yeah, exactly. And it is an important part of it, because you don't want the wrong people in, and you want people that are going to give back to community as well. So, you're getting a master's degree, but also, we want people to, have a heart too, and, give back to community, not just chase dollar signs and start
just get
a business.
another piece of paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it is important.
What you're going to contribute back to community. So a high-level overview of what you wrote in your application.
Yeah, I think from memory it was, I just talked about my role as the manager in the Aboriginal health team with Eastern Health, and, what that means to me as a manager and why I got into management, and that was, so I can support mob, and, then it was using my mental health degree, to support the staff as well, and have that clinical experience when working with, the community of, what happens when, there's mental health issues, and how we can, use that social emotional wellbeing aspect to help the community. So, it's been a journey, and
And you done your welcoming ceremony with probably the Auntie Dr. Professor Anna Caroline Briggs.
Yes, that was a humbling experience. So, looking forward to doing another one, hopefully when I graduate. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So you got welcomed onto country, into the campus. Tell us about the other people in the course. What was it like when you started to meet and get to know some of your other colleagues, students? What do we call them at uni? Your classmates?
Yeah, classmates, yeah.
Brothers and sisters, aunties and uncles?
Yeah, mob from all over. So I was super nervous obviously at first, and then I think the first one was 7 days. So we did the welcome and just to get together on the first day, and then you sort of, after that, it's sort of guns blazing, and you're into your learnings, and it was such a good experience because everyone's just, after the first day, everyone's like, you don't know who's who, and then by the end of the week, like I was saying to you earlier, we were all hugging each other goodbye, and we're adding each other on social media and stuff. So
you do find you find your people, and you feel safe within that kind of environment, don't you? It's different, and you would know about it more so because you've been to university before. I had never been to university. So I had not experienced what it was like to do a degree at a university that wasn't, a room full of mob. So what was that like in terms of the difference, if you could compare?
Yeah, it was, Monash just did everything amazing. So I was very impressed, and I've said it every time. So going from other unis as well, just, from accommodation to everything, like the people around you, the teachers. We were hugging the teachers goodbye.
I know.
It was pretty full
on. And this is day one.
And they were crying. Yeah. So, they talk about their journey too. Like before their day even starts, they were telling us about them and how proud they are to be, to help us. So, it was nice to, at the end thank them, and, we did a little thank you to them. So it really is a good opportunity. So, I just highly recommend it,
Hey, look, there's two of us that highly recommend it. We're not just saying this because it's a Monash Partnership Series. As an Aboriginal woman in business, I can tell you now, I've always felt the need to study, all right? But I never thought I was going to study business. So I started naturopathy, nutritional medicine. I studied media. I did a Cert 3 in business 24 years ago. 25 years ago, and went into the government, but then I went straight into media. Then my mum was a naturopath. So to actually then go into business without a degree and without any business knowledge, I always felt that I was lacking. And it was business acumen, it was language, and these kind of, I had the practice, I had the experience, but I didn't have the theory to back it up. So looking at even Indigenous knowledges, there's going to be some amazing lectures. I'm not going to give too much up, right? But I'll tell you now, Amal, love you, Amal. You'll meet him. Did you meet Amal?
I did. She's amazing, yeah.
She's lovely. We had to do this. You had 20 seconds to tell a story, and you could only use 20 slides, and you had to do a presentation.
Yeah.
It was pretty hard.
And what
you had to remember it.
Do you remember it?
I don't know if I remember it.
Do you still have your song? No.
I do. But I do just remember I was being tested. It really challenged me, and I was really outside of my comfort zone, but I felt like I could, the growth within me, I could feel it every block, every new lecture, the topics that we were discussing, the assignments that we were doing. I wasn't ever overwhelmed though. You know, when you're out of your comfort zone, it feels sometimes overwhelming. I didn't feel that sense of overwhelmingness because I felt that these lecturers, our teachers, had our backs. You feel this sense that we're family, we're going to support you, we're not going to let you, not fail, but it's like your confidence sometimes and your self-esteem. When you're in these new environments and they're talking a different language, you start to doubt whether or not you should be in that space. And as an Aboriginal woman, being in business and running, this business and dealing with a lot of big companies, sometimes I was my own worst enemy. I don't know why, but I just thought that because I wasn't university trained and I didn't have this degree, that I just didn't value what I had to offer. I didn't place much value.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, why this criteria there is a bit of a criteria, but I think, they look at our strengths and our weaknesses and we're picked there for a reason. It is a safe spot, and shout out to Katrina, how deadly she is. So.
Yes. So your interview process, did you have a little yarn with Katrina?
Yeah. So, and even that transition was just, it all runs so smooth, and Eddie questions, everything, what about this, what about that? And, she'd always get back to you and organise some crazy time over in the States to meet with me and, go through all of it. So
they're definitely committed, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And it's, for anyone thinking about just taking that next step, you've got this mental health degree, you're in a management position, you're working in the Aboriginal community-controlled sector for MOB. That's the community-controlled sector. Are they called ARCHOs?
So I will be, but
You will be?
I have not.
You're going into a new job.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so so we just did the 7-day residential school, and then we're all hugging goodbye. It was good to meet all mob from all over, and I went to hug one of the ladies, and she's like, "Oh, I can't hug you," and I'm like, "Why's that?" And she's like, "Oh, you're going to be working for me." And then funny enough, now I've just resigned from Eastern Health and starting with First People's Health. That's right. You're starting with First People's Health, which is an Aboriginal community-controlled organisation. Yes. So known as ARCHOs. Yep. So they got a clinic in Frankston and Thomastown, and I'll be managing their SUB team, and Corinda, the CEO, who's the lady, she's actually in the course as well, obviously. So how deadly is that? That you're actually in this course, and your new your new boss, the CEO, not the new CEO, of the Aboriginal Health Service, is actually doing this program as well. Yeah, and she sees this as highly valuable and beneficial for herself, for her own career progression. Yeah, exactly, and it just creates so many opportunities. Networking, and then. Issues that you're having, like you can just, you can, call them up any time and say, what about this? And it happened so many times, similar things that, especially if you're in government or like a mainstream hospital setting, it is hard work. So, it was good to sort of have them networks and debrief. So, yeah.
So for anyone, that's listening to this podcast that might be thinking about, doing some further learning, what would you say to them if they're still not too sure?
I'd say definitely do it. You won't lose anything by just inquiring and seeing what it's all about. But, it gives you so much ideas about, even if you don't want to start a business, it's like, it's leadership as well. So it's, management and it just gives you, so many tools and, it's just amazing, yeah.
So this brother is literally only one subject in. Just wait for the rest. You think it's amazing now.
I know. It blows my mind how much I learnt too just in that first week.
I know. That's what I mean. It's like you've already been there for 6 blocks.
Yeah, I've already got business ideas and yeah. So, I'm excited to go back actually.
Is there anyone in the course that you have met that you've been blown away by? Is there anyone in particular, you haven't heard everyone's stories yet?
I think all of them, and they're from so many different walks of life, but one in particular there's a lady from the Northern Territory and Auntie Annette, and I don't think she'd studied before, but she's like, just so good, and like to come back, she's a bit older and come back, and it was just amazing. So it could be any age. So in my first degree, I was one of the oldest, like when I did the Bachelor of Mental Health, and now I'm, one of the younger ones.
One of the babies.
So, yeah, so that's nice. So
I love the fact that we can now walk into these spaces where black fellas traditionally had not ever been, given the opportunities or the accessibility, like there was the law for us to participate in higher education, to just participate in society. And now we've got these master's programs that have been developed, co-designed by black academics. A big shout out to Jacinta Elston and Katrina Johnson, and to the rest of the MOIBL crew, like all of the lecturers, all of the staff, and all of the mob that are still doing the MOIBL program. It is definitely life-changing. You will build relationships that you've never had before, and I think that's really important for us to actually find the right people to support us, to encourage us, to keep us going, especially when times get tough. So look, I just want to say thank you for letting us steal you from the Monash booth.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me.
Too deadly. So look, all you mob, if you are looking to, just push yourselves and step outside of your comfort zones, even if you've never been to university before, I was one of those peoples, and I can tell you now that I've never looked back. We will bring you more amazing episodes in terms of different yarns with students, past participants, students, and also people that have been part of the MOIBL program. So look, watch this space. Until next time, bye for now.
This episode is proudly supported by Monash University, promoting the Master of Indigenous Business Leadership program. For more information, head to the link in our show notes or visit www.monash.edu/indigenous-business-leadership.
Don't forget to follow Black Magic Woman podcast on all social media platforms. To keep up to date with the latest episodes and news, head to blackmagicwoman.com.au. You can rate and review the podcast on iTunes, and please feel free to share the podcast with your family and friends.